All right, click the links to join the channel here over at Subscribestar. So this is what the video is about, this useful idiot for this puppet for the puppet master's machinations. But let me get to some of her quotes, because it's just a jumble of Marxist doublespeak. It means absolutely nothing. So this is one of her quotes. It's just nonsense after nonsense. At no point does the interviewer ever ask any real questions. Because the reality of interviews now is if you ever did ask any questions, you just wouldn't get another interview. You'd be known as the difficult interviewer. And when somebody had to arrange an interview for a movie or something, the PR person would call and make sure, yeah, we want to do it. We'll do an interview with your magazine, but not with that interviewer. And that's just reality. So you get you just allow these people to say this insane stuff, and there's no pushback on anything whatsoever. So she goes, to be part of creating accessibility for generations to come. She's talking about Lord of the Rings, the 4 books that are out there in various forms that are available anywhere, whether you can buy them used online. I think I might have an extra couple copies I could send somebody. In fact, I have one book that's a combination of all 3 stories in one. I could probably mail it to somebody. They're available anywhere, including digitally. So she's creating accessibility for generations, talking about her replacing the characters that are supposed to be in the story. For new generations, this is their version of Tolkien. This is what my daughter will see if Tolkien's works. It's their time, and it's so important. I hope many people will see this fantasy and be able to relate to it. Well, I mean, the books have been out for 70 years. I think people can relate to the original books pretty well. This is a reflection of the world we live in. Yeah, but that's not the story. The story's 70 years old. It's not a reflection. It's a fantasy story. It is the alpha and omega. It's written and completed. Anything you do to change it is screwing it up, because the people who are changing it are not the original genius that Tolkien was. And yes, I said he was a genius because he created a story that made its way around the world. That he's such a godlike character that Amazon can't create their own fantasy story. They had to take his story and use it to subvert and corrupt. So no, you don't need to reflect the world you live in now, because the world you live in now is shit. It couldn't create this story. Tolkien's world created the story, and he is better, and it was a better world because the evidence is that's where the story came from. The modern world now cannot even approach Tolkien because it's not as good as Tolkien. So it's a reflection. There are many. We're different. We'll embrace and discover and peel back and learn and educate and be educated. And we can only do that when we embrace and love our differences. No, I mean, you didn't say anything in that sentence, but you probably felt good saying that. To be the poster child and to fly the flag, being a mother, being a woman, being a colors, obese, deemed as you're not beautiful. A thing of beauty? No, you're morbidly obese. It's not. That there's some singer, Lizzo or something. I gotta admit, I've never heard her saying is like 300 plus pounds, and she's tired of like the fat jokes or something, and she's 300 pounds and she dances around in like a bikini or something. It's just really horrific to see. And she goes, I might have to quit from music because I'm tired of these fat jokes. And people are looking at her like, you're 100 pounds overweight. I mean, it's at no point in human history have people this obese like this just been allowed to go on without people going, you know what, maybe we're not headed in the right direction here. No, you're not a thing of beauty. So all those things personified in a face, and it happens to be my face. Okay, you didn't none of the things you said, you didn't actually say anything. So Afro Hobbits, I don't know what we're up to with the Afro Hobbits. 20 maybe, Afro Dwarf edition now more than ever. So Rings of Power, Lord of the Rings. Purse Puppy is surprised to learn that everyone hates her online. Well, it's like, well, welcome to the internet, friend. She deserves the hate. They should hate you. They should hate everyone involved in this story. It's okay to hate the actors in these shows and express that online. They hate you. It's time to return the favor. One time I would have said, it's a production company. It's the directors, the producers, the writers, the actors. It's just a paycheck to them. They're probably not even familiar with the source material. Now I look at it like, no, it's total war. You hate the actors as well, and express that publicly online to the extent the platform will allow. Yeah, they chase somebody offline. Oh, good, fine. I'm sure she'll just go cry back to her LA mansion. So what happened is Rings of Power is an Amazon globalist interpretation of Lord of the Rings, except that it doesn't resemble Lord of the Rings whatsoever, because Lord of the Rings is a European story with European people, as is Little Mermaid, now that I think about it, and The Witcher and Willow, and probably a bunch of other stories. I forgot. I saw a bunch of, I saw some of all these stories, but I mean, like even to do a review for some of these stories, is difficult because they're really, hey, another little a little black girl, or no, they're always like half half black and half something else in all these stories. It's like none of that makes sense. It feels like, oh, so you're just like an LA casting call. You just threw a net outside of your window and you just grabbed people who are outside the window. It's like, yeah, we got, Chinese guy, an Indian, a black mixed girl, and like a one token blonde guy. It's like, yeah, but they don't all belong together. That doesn't. How dare you say that? How dare you, sir? I mean, as a tribe, these are tribal, small English village stories. None of this. It has to feel like they belong together. L.A. is not anything. It's just a commercial zone. That's why the stories don't make sense, because you're making these American commercial zone stories that at one time in a better world, which was only like 50 to 70 years ago, the stories made sense because they were one tribe of people. This found family, this Bolshevik concept, it's not a tribe of people. Anyway, it seems like these globalists take anything European and replace them with non-Europeans, usually black. I don't know if European's a word, but I'm gonna make it one. Instead of just telling organic black African stories, if that's the direction you want to go in, that would make more sense. Even if you had to do this way, how do you have Afro hobbits and Afro elves in these stories? Well, they have to be their own tribe, like they are on Earth. They have to be their own tribe, and then they come from a great distance to come together to unite against some common threat. I mean, don't get me wrong, that's stupid too, but it's the only way that you can do it that makes sense. So this woman, who frankly seems insane, you can read the interview, she wants this version of the story to be what kids are familiar with. First of all, the books are out there. The kids should be reading the books, but nobody reads anymore because they have phones and tablets, and unfortunately kids are getting dumber every day. Like, I'm not that old. You're not that old. And you look around at kids today, and kids are getting dumber. The breadth of knowledge and pieces of history that they're just completely unaware of. Words that they don't know the meaning of because they never learned the etymology of Latin and Greek in school. Like they're just completely ignorant of word origins and like the nuance in history that went into things. And you look at these kids, and it's just like blank spots. I think back to when we were kids, like we knew all that stuff. Why are kids so dumb today? Well, it's another video. Definitely not one for YouTube. So no, kids should not think that this version is Tolkien's version, because his story was a deeply European. Oh, I put videos on Subscribe, so you can check that out. His story was a deeply European story. This woman's lack of awareness of how disrespectful this is to European people is shocking. None of this makes sense because you're not a tribe of people, and you have a woman at the lead. None of that. Yeah, this is not how humans behave. Humans are very patriarchal, patrilineal, usually, and they're also very tribal. So like you're destroying. We're delightfully, wickedly subversive and corrupt. Yeah, but it verisimilitude, the willing suspension of disbelief. None of this makes sense. It doesn't. You watch this and goes, yeah, it just feels like, some kind of Larry Fink funded Amazon joint venture movie of a little bit of globalist propaganda. It doesn't connect with the you're just a yeah. But if you couldn't strawman, deflect, or ad hominem, how would you talk up this story? And the only way they can talk up the story is they go, well, it's diverse, and they use all these the Frankfurt School hot words. It's like, yeah, but you're just admitting it's propaganda. That's the only validity to the story for you, is its use to you as propaganda. So her lack of awareness in this interview is really weird. It never seems to cross her mind that the whole thing is about centering her as the focus of attention. Insert fat joke about having her own gravity. It's all about transforming the sacred European story, and I call it sacred because that's how Amazon treats it. It must be the Englishman's magic, because apparently nobody else but Europeans can create such valuable stories. Amazon, Disney are like cargo cults. They can't innovate. They can only mock. So nobody is going to think this is Tolkien's story because the first season bombed, as well it deserved to bomb. It was, even to do reviews on it, like to watch it carefully, it's hard to watch all this stuff. Who's that guy, Thorius Unlimited, who does these kind of like reviews. And when he was doing Batgirl, I think 3 or 4 years ago, and he was doing those reviews, and he's making a fair amount of money doing it. movies and TV shows have gotten worse since he was doing Batgirl. Like the stuff he's doing now, he'll never run out of material, but it's worse than Batgirl. Like this stuff makes Batgirl look out, and Batgirl was really, really bad, and it went for 3 seasons. How, I don't know. I guess I don't know. Honestly, I don't know unless the kids are just, I guess they probably, I don't think anyone was watching. I think it's just kind of subsidized because it's woke. Anyway, and the second season is going to come out in a year or 2 years because the Wu Flu delayed production or something. It's weird how some people took that seriously and other people, I gotta admit, I didn't take it very seriously at all, and I'm glad I didn't. I didn't take that seriously, if you know what I'm saying. So this lady, you don't trust the media or the government? No, why the hell would you trust the media or the government? Because they made me scared. But that's still not a valid reason. Yeah, but when I'm scared, logic goes out the window. Okay, but it shouldn't. I mean, you should like sit, pray, and think. So this lady plays a dwarf who's living underground with her red-haired Scottish or Irish hubby. Looks out of some kind of Irish central casting. So they have kids, and now the kids are part of neither tribe. And I think in that scene, I don't know if you saw it or not, they have the kids running around with pots on their heads for some reason. So they didn't want to show the kid's face because I guess they didn't want to show like what the kids look like because the kids are going to look more like her than like him. I think that's why they did that. I mean, there's a lot of subversion in these shows. You have to watch carefully, and if you see the kids running around with masks on, you go, wait a minute, why are they wearing masks? Why are they hiding the kids' faces? I don't know if they show them later or not, because honestly, I don't think I wasn't paying that close attention. So you have this black African character who's mixing it up with some, Northern European character. So clearly they're coming from different environments. So why are they together, but they look physically different? It's woke nonsense like this that takes you right out of the story. Why are the Afro hobbits, elves, and dwarves in the same location as the clearly looks like European characters? Did they travel from a great distance from a hotter climate where they had dark skin as sun protection? Why are some fair and some dark? Do they explain it in the show? Like I said, I kind of was sleeping through the rest of it. Why can't you just tell the story as it's written? Because Amazon are globalist parasites. So she does this weird interview where she uses a bunch of these Frankfurt School phrases and hot words, talking about speaking her truth and standing in power and colors of colors and being a proud obese person with colors and being a female and an obese one. And it's like none of that. She just says all these words and you go, so how do I summarize what you just said? Because it's all some bizarre appeal to emotion using these Bolshevik doublespeak hot words. I can't summarize it because you didn't actually make a point. You didn't actually make an argument. It was just all appeal to emotion. It's just low IQ nonsense where she's repeating things that she's heard from people. Nowhere does she talk about respecting Tolkien and the European mythos, because I suspect that she hates Tolkien and the European people. You can't take these roles without hating the fair, beautiful people of Europe. And she does. She really, really does. Tolkien is just a tool. Oddly enough, she doesn't mention reading the stories. Honestly, she comes across as either low IQ or sociopathic. Sometimes it's hard to tell because she's so focused on herself. And most people in Hollywood are very narcissistic. But some take it to the next level. I can't tell if she's borderline sociopath or just dumb because at the ends of the spectrum, they kind of bleed into each other where they can't. The thing is, can you emulate how someone else feels, how other people would feel, and do you value those people? And in her cases, it's probably no to both. She can't understand why people would be upset. Or not, I don't know if they're upset because people are just not watching, but she can't understand that, like why people would not watch the show because it's not the show. And even if she could understand it, ability to emulate and sympathize with other people, she wouldn't care because she doesn't value European people. She just values herself and her tribe. You don't have to rewrite Tolkien to make it accessible to non-European people. Like I said, it's been around for 70 years. That doesn't make any sense. People read stories from around the world translated into their languages, and it works just fine. Do you need to change Shaka Zulu into an Irishman so I can understand the story? No, I read the original history and the fictionalized versions of it or whatever. It's like, you know what I'm saying? The things these SJWs say are so stupid and they should be mocked, but nobody ever stops and says, wait a minute, you're making the stories accessible to people, but before Rings of Power came around, the books already had worldwide fame. So they were accessible. They were available in languages. I'm like, no. They have to all be black so black people can watch them. But they haven't been, the stories are not that way. They've been this way for 70 years. What you're saying clearly doesn't make sense. And nobody says that. The interviewer just does never asks these kind of questions. So she says, this is the version her daughter is going to watch, and her friends are going to think this is Lord of the Rings. Well, you should be telling your daughter to read the original books, not watch this, this garbage Amazon version. I don't think she even mentions the books at all, or the writer, or the European environment that allowed this story to grow. Because to a sociopath like her, the only point of the story is reflect upon her personal glory. Nothing else matters. And it's like Amazon hired her. Amazon's the one pulling the strings on this. But there's enough hate to go around. You can hate all these kind of people. Uh, so in that moment throughout the show, I made it my mission to ease their fear and to let them understand and help educate them that it's okay. We can tell a story, that we can be here, and the show will be better for it. It's not that our industry and the world would be better for it. It's not, because it's not the story. I mean, none of the things you're making. People are not scared of the story. They're not frightened of the story. It's not the story. It's just Bolshevik propaganda. You're just stringing together a bunch of doublespeak, and you think you're so deep. You're just saying nonsense, and nobody has the courage to look at you and go, "You're sort of a dumb person," and you're just jabberwocky, jabberwocky, jabberwocky. You don't value Tolkien, you don't value the story, and you certainly don't value the European people or the people who were fans of the story. You don't have to be European to be a fan of the story, but like not all things have to be all things to all people. And that's okay also. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, check out the subscribe star. I'll see you guys all next episode.